Yes, yes, this is Mr. Controversy, and this is the infamous three-point conversion station. Keep it locked.
From coast to coast, representing all of the dog pound and everything that involves week 1 of the NFL. This is the Brown Sound Podcast, presented by the 3-point conversion. I'm Eric. Over there is LA Bratislava.
What's going on, y'all? I hope everybody's feeling fine, feeling fresh, feeling ready, because this is Week 1. It kicks off actually tonight with the Atlanta Falcons facing off with the Philadelphia Eagles. But, of course, we don't care about that on this show. We care about our Week 1 matchup, and that is the Cleveland Browns going up the Pittsburgh Steelers. It's Steelers Week. Eric, how you feel about Steelers Week?
I'm feeling good. I'm trying to figure out what a Carson Wentz is. I have no idea what that is, but it's Steelers Week, baby. We're going to steal one.
Absolutely, and as Eric said, this is Brownstown, powered by the 3-point conversion. Make sure you go to the 3pointconversion.com to catch all your latest and greatest sports news and updates. Also, we have a show tab on there, so just look us up under there. Catch our show on all your major podcasting outlets. Yeah, I want to say social media because we are on social media, but I'll get that to you guys later. But all your podcast outlets, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, you can catch us everywhere. And if you are on a platform like iTunes or iHeartRadio, please, when we're just asking you to give us your rating of the show. Let us know how you feel. Let us know how you think. Leave some comments, and we will do what we do. And that's bringing you the noise, bringing you the funk. So, Eric.
Yes.
We just seen the finale of Hard Knocks. So, there was a lot of mixed emotions out there as far as what I've seen from my social media, but I want to hear and see what you felt personally, and then also what kind of fan reaction did you get?
Honestly, I'll start with the fan reaction. From what I was seeing, a lot of people were not very happy with the cuts. And this started all on, I believe, that Saturday that you were referring to, because everybody at this time was pretty much looking for that spoiler at that time. Just like, did Devin Kajus make it? No, but he was so much better than. Oh, honestly, it was a great episode. It was heart-wrenching just because of the bombs dropped. Probably the biggest one being the fact that Kajus's father was not there for the game because he had the heart problems going on. So I give him a lot of credit for playing through that, but I can understand the emotions with that one. Probably one of the other big shockers was the fact that they played up this whole Carl Nassib versus Nate Orchard storyline. And then, of course, as we know, neither of them are even on the team anymore. Very true.
And from what you said as far as with the cuts, let's be honest, everybody in the know of the Cleveland Browns that follow them, that, it's just in there, we knew that was coming. I mean, it wasn't like a big shocker to anybody about Devin Kajus. I know you picked him in your projections, but as you said before on the previous show, that was kind of like your reach, your shocker, your, somebody that, remember we asked if it was somebody that you could be a little bit on the fence about and maybe pull the trigger, be a little dangerous, living on the wild side like Eric likes to do. He picked Devin Kajus. And that's fine. I mean, because he was doing good, and the man had a tremendous improvement over watching him the entire training camp and preseason. So, yeah, he was good. But in the actual episode, what is it that we kept hearing? We kept saying, you're getting better at blocking. You're getting better at blocking. Okay, if you're a tight end in this league and can't block, then you have to have tremendous elite skill. I'm talking about like Gronkowski type, just absolute dominance in order to be able to play and be on an NFL roster if you can't block as a tight end. If you're, okay at catching and stuff, which I'm going to say he's okay. Devin Kajus is not an elite tight end as far as his catching skills and all that. He's okay at it.
I mean, he's not a Charles Clay. He's not a Rob Gronkowski. He's not a Travis Kelce. I mean, the thing about Kajus was he was a good story that has good hands, but as you said, this is a guy that's been in the league. People forget he was with the Packers in 2016. So he was with one of our guys, I believe it was Hightower at the time, when he was trying out for the Packers. And, if he didn't learn to block in that time, which you don't think that would have come up once, if you didn't do that, then whose fault is it really? I mean, the kid is good, and I think he had a lot of professionalism about it, but in today's NFL, everything is so competitive that if you are going under the moniker earn your stripes, then you have to do just that. It doesn't matter who you are, except if you're Josh Gordon, but there's an obvious good reason for that whole thing. I mean, he earned his stripes in a different way. But the fact of the matter is, Kajus needs to realize he has a lot of work to do still. I mean, just because you're getting better at blocking, that doesn't make up for the fact that you have a good story. So, even if you have that good story, it means nothing if you can't produce on the field.
Absolutely, and I agree. But I do not want to give any more time to Devin Kajus because he's gotten all the time that he's deserved through Hard Knocks and through previous other shows and everybody else loving him. So, no offense to Devin Kajus, but we need to move on to some more important things. I know that you brought up Carl Nassib, you brought up Nate Orchard. How do you feel with both of them actually not even being on the roster now?
I'll be honest with you. Nate Orchard I was not too surprised about because the one thing that everybody brought up with that Lions game, it was a hell of a play that he made. Let me not take anything away from that. I mean, just watching that, just listening to it, it's like, holy, this guy could make the team. But then you realize, wait, he's been on the roster for 3 years. He hasn't done anything. And that was the one thing that I remember talking with somebody in a Browns group about, and they were like, well, that means that he should just be on the bench. No, it doesn't mean that at all. It means he's been here for 3 years, and he's done nothing. There's nothing to show for it. Not for nothing, but if you're a head coach and you see that, your first instinct is to cut him.
Right. And the biggest thing about Nate Orchard that jumped out to me is, of course, again, a feel-good story, his wife making cookies and stuff. He seemed like a really good guy, nice family. But, again, like how they kept saying over and over why they were bringing these players in is that this is a business. And so I get it and I understand. However, when I was watching him on tape and everything, it seemed like, he's fast, he's quick, he can get to the QB. But at the same time, if he doesn't get to the QB, what else is he doing? And it seemed like he was getting thrown around a lot on the field. Him and Carl, actually, that like they were just getting tossed by some of these, linemen and stuff when they were trying to go in and get to the QB. So it's like it was either a Jekyll and Hyde kind of thing. Like if he was in there, cool. If not, then he was like pretty much useless out there on the field. So I get it, especially with the people that they brought in to replace them, the Carl Davis edition. All I've heard is great things about this guy. I can't wait to see him on the field and see what he does, but all I've heard is great things. Mm-hmm. He was actually one of the top guys that a lot of teams put in waivers for.
If I remember, I think he had like 5 people that put in waivers for him. So
exactly. So I'm really excited to see what this guy does. The other guy that we brought in, Ike, I cannot say his last name at all, and I have not heard it pronounced at all. He hasn't had any press conferences, and other media is deciding to steer away from the pronunciation of it. But I heard that he was actually pretty good too. he was the one that came from the Ravens, I believe. I'm trying to look up just some of our transactions and see directly, but I know one was on the Ravens. I'm not sure if that was Carl Davis or Ike.
I think that was Davis, to be honest.
Okay,
but...
so that might have been Davis there, and then also we seen Ike. I believe he came from, just off the top of my head before I confirm it, I believe he was on the Ravens at one point, and then he kind of like bounced around a little bit. But let's see. There it is right here. Before we go in. Sorry, I am scrolling. So Carl Davis is Baltimore Ravens. Ifeidi, I guess it's Ifeidi. I guess that's how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, sir. Once we get the correct pronouncing out, I got you covered. But he came from Minnesota. That's right. And then, of course, we have some O-linemen and another big name that was thrown out there was the linebacker, Tanner, that came from the Buffalo Bills off of waivers.
That was shocking to me. I mean, you gotta I don't know what it is, but it seems like they're starting to tear down little by little in Buffalo.
Yeah, and that is a good point. Buffalo, if you compare Buffalo's roster right now to what the Browns have right now, and Tyrod Taylor would have chosen between which team he would want to be on, clearly on paper we're winning here. Clearly.
Absolutely.
Especially in a lot of different areas, including the defense. And that's really how they were able to get to the playoffs last year, was based off of their defense and then on the back of LaShawn McCoy. But, yeah.
And here's the thing. Early projections are saying that McCoy could be one of the fancy busts of this year. So I don't know what it is, but if you're a Buffalo fan, you got to be chomping at your fingernails here. I mean, not for nothing, but I'd be nervous if I were them.
Yeah, and I believe that. And at some point in time, I think we'll probably end up working in some kind of fantasy thing, too, just because I know that we both kind of look into it. I decided to take a break this year, but are you playing this year?
I am. It's just a matter of I got to still pay my due.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So while Eric goes and pays his fantasy football dues, we will return. When we come back, we will talk about, of course, the matchup against the Steelers, some of the matchups that we want to see and who we'll be looking out for on the field, as well as so much other Browns news. This is Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. I'm LA and my man Eric over there, and we will be right back.
What up, sports fans? It's your boy Damian Adams from The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Now, you can catch my show weekly here on the 3-Point Conversion station. I'm always bringing that real sports talk for the real sports fan. But if you're hearing my voice right now, that means you're living life correctly, because you're listening to Brownstown with my man LA and Eric. Make sure you stay tuned. Tell your friends about the show, because you know they're bringing that real for you, that knowledge for you here on Brownstown.
All right, and we are back. Episode of Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. I'm your man, LA, and of course, I'm joined with my amazing co-host, Eric, a.k.a. Stotchball. Yes, sir. And as we said before, it is Steelers week. We just got done talking a little bit about Hard Knocks. Of course, we could go into it more and just keep going. And, maybe we'll have another episode where we kind of just do a full season recap for you guys, but that is not today, because today is Steelers week. That's what we focused on. We're focused on Steelers week. Steelers week. We need to have like a little song or something made, like where we say Steelers week. But, anywho, this matchup here in previous years would have been laughable. Would you agree?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, probably one of the most common things that has been said was that it's not really a rivalry anymore, just because of how much the Steelers have controlled this whole thing.
Right, exactly. And crazy enough, as I was listening to another, it wasn't a podcast, I was just listening to some sports talk radio, and I didn't even really realize, but Ben Roethlisberger actually has the best record out of all the quarterbacks that have stepped in First Energy Stadium. He has the best record.
Hold on there, amigo. We're forgetting something. He still hasn't faced Myles Garrett yet.
And I get that, and we'll definitely be. That's coming up next. The matchups that you're looking for and what you're looking forward to. But he still has the best record currently as of right now, and so therefore that's even more humiliating when it comes to you talking about rivalry, and then now the quarterback that has the best record in your stadium is also a Steeler as well. So this is crazy, but we shall move on, and we've seen, like you said, from a lot of the press conferences from the Steelers side, because the Steelers are becoming more vocal nowadays, which we'll get into that as well. But the Steelers are becoming more vocal, and Tomlin was asked some things. Ben Roethlisberger, of course, was asked some things, and of course the rest of the teammates were. But the consensus that has been coming out of that camp is that this isn't a walk in the park. You know, this isn't a cupcake. Like, we have definitely noticed, and the rest of the AFC North has noticed, that this Browns team is a lot different, and they look a lot tougher. So we're not taking this, lightly. But at the same time, Tomlin did kind of say in his cocky way that we understand. Actually, he was asked this. They said basically, what kind of game, does it mean for the rivalry or whatever? And he said, well, we understand the importance of this game to the Browns. So I started laughing because I was like, man, even though they have acknowledged that we've gotten better, we're going to have to prove this on the field, because Tomlin and them still got that edge to them. I mean, they've been beating our butts for years. So therefore, why would they just backtrack and why would they do that? So a point that you just brought up real quick is that, remember when Myles Garrett came into the league, the very first thing he said out of his mouth is that he could not wait to sack Ben Roethlisberger.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's something that I think I feel like he was a little disappointed, because if you remember, he tweaked his leg a little bit during the preseason last year. It sucked. Right. It was hard to watch because one of the biggest questions going into last year was how high his motor was, and he put that to bed the second he got onto the field against the Jets. And then when he finally gets his opportunity to go after one of the Steelers, it's Landry Jones.
Yeah, they didn't play their players, and that was the biggest thing that came up. Week one it wasn't week one last year, was it? Was it week one?
Yeah, we played them week one and week 17.
Right. I remember the week 17 one, but week one, Miles wasn't able to get out there because I believe it was his ankle. That was the big thing. He had sprained his ankle pretty badly. Mm-hmm. So he wasn't able to get out there against Big Ben in week one. We actually, surprisingly enough, I think we only lost by like 3 points, right?
I believe the thing is, and this was another talking point about it, they were saying that this was a game that we could have won last year, and it's funny because the deciding factor of that game was?
Wasn't it the fact that, oh man, you have to remind me. I got a bad memory, I'm sorry.
The deciding factor really was a safety that happened on the first special teams play of the game. I mean, I believe when I think it was Colquitt had the ball go over his head or something happened. It was just humiliating because it was a blocked punt. Sorry.
Okay, which is even worse. I mean, the thing about it was, and that was kind of the story of the Browns last year, is that there weren't too many games that just literally got away from us. We were in a lot of games. But what that shows you and tells you is that in order to win in this league, it's the attention to detail, it's the little things. A lot of times it's going to be that one play, maybe two plays that are busted, and you can go back and say this is the point in the game where we lost. You're not going to see in the league, unless you're just absolutely atrocious, or you're playing the Patriots and they got like Randy Moss on their team. You don't normally see scores just run out of the park. I mean, I think, if I can remember last year, the only time I've really seen a lot of scores in the NFL collectively being very, spaced out is whenever they went over to London. It was like maybe one team never woke up and the other team was there to play.
Absolutely.
That was like the lopsidedness there. But most of the games in the NFL, they're going to be within that 3 to 14 point threshold. If you start getting past 14 points, then you got blown out. But there's not blowouts in NFL. That's more so college. But to get back to this matchup,
hold on, before you go any further, here are the stats from last year. You ready for this?
Okay.
Ben Roethlisberger had 263 yards passing with 2 touchdowns. He was the top passer. Kaiser had 222 with a touchdown. Le'Veon Bell, who did play, 32 yards. Let that sink in. They were able to hold Le'Veon Bell so badly that the leading rusher of that game was Isaiah Crowell with 33.
Well, I wouldn't go there with that as far as that narrative. Remember, Le'Veon just came back that same week, and that's why a lot of people was anticipating to happen this year as well. But he had just came back that same week, and they didn't, like, run him or put him in like they would normally do because he wasn't in shape yet.
Fair enough. And then, of course, Antonio Brown just carved us up badly.
Right. Yep. And that was the narrative of that game, is the fact that it was like our secondary sucks and we need something better. So, which we've seen happen this year. So, yeah, that game was crazy. And before we actually hop into some of the matchups that we want to see from this game, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue talking about Steelers Week and our matchup against the Steelers and what we would like to see from this game from certain people. This is LA. I'm Eric. And, yeah, absolutely the other way around. Hi, Eric. I want to be you. So, this is LA, and that's Eric over there, and this is Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Diana Taurasi from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion Radio.
All right, and we're back. I'm LA, and that's Eric over there. We just switched places back, so in case you got confused earlier, we did like some little mind switching, and, you know, I was Eric for a second. Anywho, this is Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. Again, run over to 3pointconversion.com. Check out. We just had a fresh article drop, Eric, of the NFL Power Rankings by my man, Av Staley. Did you get a chance to check it out?
I did. I was checking it out. But I believe during the show today, we had somebody talking about Donald Trump doing something. I really was too entranced in the article. And I'll be honest, I was surprised at the Browns' position because we weren't in the bottom half, but we were on the higher side. I believe 21 or 22.
Right. Yeah, we were right around there, and that's the first thing that I do because he's going to be doing this every week. So he does his research, and he puts out a power rankings every week, so make sure you check that out. And the first thing I do whenever he puts out his power rankings is I'm like, let me search for the Browns real quick. For any power rankings that I read, I always scroll and search for the Browns, look for their little explanation, and then either roll my eyes because we're at like 31 or 32 or something like that. So like, you know, and then I kind of go back over and then read everywhere where everybody else is. But yeah, he had us kind of high compared to other power rankings out there, which, you know, it didn't bother me none at all. And he had actually some great points on why. Mm-hmm. And again, this is all on paper, guys. I am cautiously optimistic. I've said that within these last couple of years that I will always approach the seasons like that. Yes, being on Hard Knocks and everything has excited me, but I'm going to be cautiously optimistic. I understand that these are still the Browns until they prove otherwise. And that's just, it is what it is. But, Eric,
yeah,
it's Steelers Week, in case they didn't know, Steelers Week. And I kind of wanted to see, I know we talked about Myles Garrett and we talked about Ben Roethlisberger and the possibility of that marriage happening. I can't wait to see it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? You know, Mazel Tov, you know, pretty much, you know. But what else are you looking forward to in this game?
Oh, there's a lot that I am actually looking forward to. I mean, Garrett versus Roethlisberger is going to be the big one. I want to see how this wide receiving core can face up against this defense. I mean, we always knew...
You talking about our wide receiver core against their defense?
Yeah, because the thing is, this is probably the best Browns wide receiving core since we've come back. I mean, that's well, unless you want to count when we had Devon Bass and Greg Little, but that's not really much of a wide receiving core.
Ever. This is probably the most talent I've ever seen from our wide receiver core.
But that's exactly it. I mean, the thing is, this is the most exciting wide receiving core, and one of the biggest complaints that I even get from Steeler fans, including one that's in the studio here that I work with, he was saying that he's worried because the Steelers' secondary isn't that fantastic. The, the middle linebackers, the front seven, all that, it's beautiful. But then when you get to that secondary, it's run down. It's old. It's not that great. I mean, they just drafted a safety in the first round, but that doesn't help with your cornerback problem.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point there. The biggest thing, too, with addressing that point is that the Steelers' cornerbacks aren't that big. Like, they're not. They're very short. So you got Joe Hayden that's out there. He's like 5'10", 5'11". You got... Okay.
Oh, I can't wait to see Josh Gordon versus that.
But, yeah, you got Joe Hayden that's out there that's like 5'10", 5'11". Their other corners are pretty much the same, like, size. It's crazy how little they are out there. I don't believe they have a corner at all that is over 6 foot that's going to start for them. So when you got that, and you got that going against our wide receivers, which, Josh Gordon is 6'3", 6'4". You got Jarvis that is about 6 foot, 6'1", I believe. Antonio Callaway. And then again, too, remember, the corners back there, Joe Hayden is older. He's another year older. Now, granted, he did play pretty good last year, but he can't run with an Antonio Callaway. Like, there's no way. Okay? Josh Gordon, we know, is laser fast. Like, there's not many corners in this league right now that can match up with him and run with him. And then, remember, Joe Hayden has a problem, and we've seen it when he was on the Browns. He has a problem with bigger wide receivers. It is what it is. But also, too, then, if you try to put Joe and say, okay, well, he'll cover Jarvis, that's not even a great matchup either, because Jarvis is bigger again. He's a possession guy. He knows how to get open. He knows how to run his routes. And Joe Hayden has a problem with shifty wide receivers. So I'm expecting for Haley just to probably launch an all-out aerial attack on this Steelers team, because that is clearly the weakness there is the corner. Now, this will bring me to this point, and let me ask you this, Eric, is that we know we're going to have to get the running game going, and it's going to be tough against a tough front seven of the Steelers and also their linebacking core, even with Ryan Shazier not there. How do you feel about the Lions' pass blocking, which will probably lead us into something else as far as the line, because we've had a lot of news there this week. But how do you feel about the Lions' pass blocking? Do you believe that they will be able to block long enough for Tyrod to get the ball to these guys? And also that leads to one of Tyrod's weaknesses, where Tyrod will tend to hold on to the ball a little bit more because he is so cautious, and he takes a lot of sacks. So do you kind of see where I'm going here? Like, what are you getting from that?
Well, the thing is, I look at this line from this year, and I can't help but compare it to the line last year. I mean, it's just a natural reaction, pretty much. But the thing is, I look at the line from last year, and, well, while I do feel that we are a bit stronger because Coleman's gone, Thomas, probably the biggest anchor, is gone, but from what we're hearing, Bitonio has looked good to the point that he was named a captain. I'll say it. I think that they'll be able to stop the defense front seven of the Steelers for the most part. The biggest problem, as you did bring up, though, is Tyrod Taylor. He's a good quarterback, but he has that issue of he holds on to the ball for too long. And you know what? That's what's ultimately going to come down to it. I mean, the offensive line can do its job all day, but you only get those 3 seconds, I believe, before someone comes after you. Last year, we had them coming at about 1.5, 2 seconds. If you can get that solid 3 seconds, I feel that for most quarterbacks, they'll do good. However, with Tyrod, he's going to try for that extra second, that extra 2 seconds, and considering that even the offensive line of the Bills, which wasn't that great last year, and we saw it last year where he took a lot of sacks, he's got to be very cautious, but at the same time, he's going to have to take some gambles.
True. And real quick, injury update. They got a couple tweets. Browns cornerback E.J. Gaines, he was out because of his knee. He's back to practicing. And linebacker James Burgess, he's in concussion protocol right now. He's still out. Not a huge hit. And actually going into this game, we're going to take a quick break. But when we come back, we're going to talk about our injury news and everything else going forward when it comes to the personnel being on the field for us. I'm LA, That's Eric across from me, and we will be right back.
This is Leilani Mitchell from the Phoenix Mercury, and you're listening to the 3-Point Conversion.
All right, and we're back. I'm LA. This is Eric over there, Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. And we have been getting into the matchup because it is Steelers week. And we just covered over some of the matchups that we were going to be looking out for, got into a deep conversation, no pun intended, about the deep ball and Tyrod being able to throw against the secondary. But got some quick injury updates, and the two people that we were keeping an eye on going into this game, which is crazy because this is awesome. I don't remember recently us being this healthy going into a game, but pretty much we only had really two people that we were watching out for, and that was cornerback E.J. Gaines, which now he is back to practicing today, and linebacker James Burgess. He has a concussion. He's still in concussion protocol, so he will not. He'll be idle, which possibly means that he'll probably not be playing on Sunday. But Eric, speaking on that real quick, since that just popped up on my feed, I mean, you can't be nothing but happy about us being this healthy, right?
No, I mean, honestly, for the past few years, we have seen somebody big hurt or somebody missing. I mean, this time last year, we didn't have Myles Garrett. We didn't have Josh Gordon. I feel like we're still missing somebody that... I don't think we had Joe Bitonio last year, opening day either, to be honest. The fact is, we have never had luck when it's come to injuries, when it's come to suspensions. It's a terrible thing to say, but it's accurate.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, when the injury report came out, I was like, wow, like we really are pretty much operating healthy. Like Hugh Jackson said in his press conferences, he's never had the experience of having Josh Gordon there week one.
Honestly, he hasn't had that experience. I don't think Mike Pettin had that experience. There's only one coach I can even think of that might have had that experience. And this is bizarre to say this. Rob Chudzinski, I think he was the only coach that might have had Josh Gordon week one healthy.
That may be true. Because, like I said, I don't remember. Man, I have to do some quick research. But Josh, I definitely can't remember. Like, it's like I'm so stuck in the fact that we're like, yeah, you know, we're always in that tune of talking, saying, hey, you know, when Josh Gordon comes back, and he's actually back, Eric, and I don't know how to feel.
I mean, he is 100%. This is just awesome. I mean, really, this is just awesome. It's about damn time. I mean, what else can you say? I'm doing the research right now to see if I could find that season. Just because
it would have been 2012.
It was either 2012 or it might have been 2013.
Because I thought in one of the seasons he started off and then the suspension came, so then it took out the rest of his season.
Yeah, because let's see, the 2013 season was when he what do you call it? Was when he was a Pro Bowler.
Yeah, because he started for all 14 games.
Let's see, 2013 he was not targeted, did not get reception, so he didn't play in 2013. So that would mean 2012. I guess you're right. Let's see. But I'm trying to get this one because I find this very interesting, to be honest. Yeah, 2013 and 2012 he played all of his games with the Browns. Let's see. That first game he had 39 yards on 4 receptions against the Steelers. Oh, wait. Sorry. He played opening day against the Ravens, 32 yards on 2 receptions.
Yeah, so, I mean, and that was his rookie.
That was his rookie year. Who was the... I'm trying to think who the coach was back then. I don't think that was Chuck. Oh, it's someone that just got rehired. Pat Shurmur.
Ah.
Oh, great.
You know, the crazy part is that because of our seasons, it seemed like it all just blended all together of losing. And I told you already, I got a bad memory. Like if you say it or something happened, then of course it'll pop back in my head. But I'm just like, do I need to really remember that. Do I? I mean, I think my body conditioned itself to block out all those bad memories so that I'm not depressed. So, you know, if people are out there and they're like, hey, I remember, you know, us going, and I'm like, man, I don't really remember that. It's the same thing with the Cavaliers. Like, I remember some of the players on their team, but when they was going through that stretch, I was like, man, I don't want to remember this stuff at all.
Oh, do you mean the upcoming Ice Age that the Cavaliers are about to have?
Another time.
Another time. But I do have a fun fact about this upcoming game, though, for us.
Okay.
So I'm on OddsShark.sportsbooks.com, or just Oddsharks for short, and Cleveland's actually the favorite right now.
Yeah, the Le'Veon Bell news coming out kind of changed up, or I seen something, and you know, I don't really know that language.
No, yeah.
Picked it up, but it said something about dropping the 4 points or something like that. It dropped or something crazy.
Yeah,
I forgot how it even said.
Yeah.
The Bell news coming out, and actually that's a perfect segue, man, to the Le'Veon Bell stuff. Real quickly, what is your opinion on it? What is your opinion on the fact of hearing the players coming out and saying stuff about it? Because I know initially when I told you about it and you seen it, I mean, I know you laughed for like 20 minutes, but in a professional opinion this time, how do you feel about that and his stance and how the team it seems like going against him now?
Honestly, I don't blame his teammates for this one. I mean, I'm sorry. This was just a really pig-headed move of Le'Veon. I mean, look, I understand that you're going to be a free agent at the end of this year. I understand that you're probably going to be making some big bucks. But when you see reports of he might not come until November, that is when you have to realize by November, your team could already be out of the playoffs. I mean, it's the Steelers. I get it. I understand. But at the same time, you have to realize you can't do this. And you know what? It hurts your stock ultimately because you're already starting to count your money before you can even earn it. Probably one of the biggest ones was, probably the best example to use with it is similar to Bryce Harper in the MLB. This was a guy that was going to be the number one free agent target in Major League Baseball. He was looking for $100 million a year minimum for years. He was planning on going to the Yankees at the time. Bryce Harper's having a terrible season right now. So what it is it's a little bit of arrogance, and it's not the arrogance you want. Players should have an ego, if you will. They should have that swagger. They should be able to go out and say, look at me, I'm a badass, I'm awesome, look at me score these touchdowns, look at me make this bank. This guy's just saying, look at me make this bank for sitting on my butt and then not taking this whole thing seriously.
Okay. Well, real quick, let's take a break. We'll come right back, and then we'll get some more of your thoughts, and then also my opinion on it as well. This is LA. That's my man Eric. The three-point conversion is powering Brownstown right now. That's what they're doing. They're keeping the lights on for us. So we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Brittany Griner from the Phoenix Mercury, and you listen to the 3-Point Conversion.
All right, and we're back. Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. I'm your man, LA, and across from me is Eric, and Eric was going in on the Le'Veon Bell situation. Eric, from hearing your thoughts, sir, you're not in the player's corner. Is that what I kind of got from that ranting?
Pretty much. I mean, the thing is, this is a team sport. I mean, this is an absolute team sport. I mean, you can get away with some things, some sports not being a team sport. I'm not going to get into it just because, quite frankly, I'll be ranting about something else that's completely off topic. But this is a team sport, and when your own line, which usually is on the side of the running back and on the side of the quarterback, won't defend you, that should tell you something.
Okay. Well, I'm on the opposite end. I'm pro player, and the reason why I would say is this, and I haven't always been that way, but recently seeing what Odell Beckham went through, especially with the fact that he came back and played on his tag last year, and he got injured, like in that first preseason game, crazy enough, against us. I know you remember that play.
Oh, yeah, trust me. I remember hearing every radio show, every television station calling Bryn Bodie Calhoun one of the dirtiest players ever.
Right. And then they were like, oh, yeah, the freaking Browns. Like, now you just messed up the entire – it was like we messed up the entire NFL from that play. Is what people was blaming us for. But I see him come back. I see him go through what he went through, and then he came back this year, bounced back from the injury, and then still show up to camp and stuff, and the Giants awarded him with that. And I get it. I do. But remember, for a long time, people was, hinting at all these trade rumors and stuff like that. The Browns was one of the teams that was right smack dab in the middle of it because of his relationship with our team, our players on our team. Now, that situation right there, Eric, to me, is a lucky situation because that injury could have been anything.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been anything. And for him to be able to bounce back and still be healthy and still show explosiveness, a lot of times people take that for granted. They don't really realize and see what these players go through to battle back to get healthy. It's, we see so many, ACL injuries, MCL injuries every single year. I believe right now the count is we're at around like 22 to 23 players right now that season has been ended by an ACL injury. But the way that they bounce back and they come back, it's automatically assumed that, oh, yeah, they pop their, okay, yeah, whatever, they'll heal up. But that's not always the case for everybody. The reason why we're seeing them pop back so quickly is because, of course, advances in medicine. But then, two, the people that we actually pay attention to, Eric, is the people that are the superstar players. For instance, Adrian Peterson. He is not human. The way he bounced back from his was absolutely ridiculous. Deshaun Watson this year, Carson Wentz. These are the cream of the crop, the top players of the league. But we don't a lot of times see the middle of the pack, the below pack, go through this stuff, and then they're not even in the league anymore because of their injuries. And I've met a lot of them. So for me with Le'Veon is I don't blame him. I want him to get his money. He's been out there. He's been performing a great service, playing at the top of his position. And literally, when you look at the Steelers' offense, it's been nothing but him and Antonio. So, of course, they paid Antonio, and now they need to pay Le'Veon Bell. The problem is this. Ben Roethlisberger also has a monster contract, too. And so if you look at the trend across the league, these people that are getting these big contracts, Eric, their quarterbacks don't have a big contract yet. For instance, the Bears, right? Khalil Mack, monster contract. Mitch Trubisky still on a rookie contract. The Rams, they haven't gave Goff his contract yet. So they're able to put that money in other places. When you pay that quarterback, though, that's when you start to see where teams have to let these other names go and stuff like that, and they go to another team and get paid because they've locked up so much of their money in their quarterback unless their quarterback does something, franchise-friendly, something that's front-loaded or back-loaded maybe a little bit later. You know how they play around with the numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But that's really what Pittsburgh is facing here. And Pittsburgh don't want to say it, and Le'Veon doesn't care. And so, in that point, I don't really care either. I want him to get paid.
Trust me, the guy deserves to be paid, but there's a right way and a wrong way to go about it is the big thing on my end, at least.
Hey, look, don't put the rules in place if he can do them. Again, they placing a little franchise tag on him. It's not locking up his future. It's a way in order to get him to play for another year, and God forbid his stats drop or he gets injured, then all of a sudden they're like, well, you didn't do anything this year, so that long-term contract that you're looking for, that longevity, it's not going to be there. You can't do it. And then now all of a sudden he's bouncing around to different teams like Adrian Peterson is now, and he becomes one of those names because, of course, Father Time is undefeated. So, like I said, we can definitely stand polar opposites. That is fine. America, take note that you can disagree and still get along. Okay?
Go to hell. Just kidding.
So, Eric, I was looking through, and another thing that has been puzzling me, and it's been a hot topic. Actually, you know what? Let's take one more quick break, and then we'll hop into that. This is LA. That's Eric, Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion.
What up, sports fans? It's your boy Damian Adams from The Real Deal with Damian Adams. Now, you can catch my show weekly here on the 3-Point Conversion station. I'm always bringing that real sports talk for the real sports fan. But if you're hearing my voice right now, that means you're living life correctly, because you're listening to Brownstown with my man LA and Eric. Make sure you stay tuned. Tell your friends about the show, because you know they're bringing that real for you, that knowledge for you here on Brownstown.
All right, and we're back. It's Steelers week, y'all. And you are joined by LA and Eric, Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. Again, go to the 3pointconversion.com to read all the articles. We have previews up for every single conference. Shout out to the writers, including Eric, for doing their thing and getting that information out. Of course, hop on Facebook. Find us, the 3-Point Conversion, on Facebook. We have the latest breaking news and updates out there for you. It's always going. Also on Facebook, we have a group, Brownstown USA, so make sure you check us out there, where we are joined by other Browns fans across the country, and even, I think, outside the country at sometimes, because we've been getting some like England people and stuff too. But we're all there, joined at the hip, talking Browns 24/7 at Brownstown USA, the Facebook group. Also on Twitter, you can find us at Brownstown USA. You can find Eric on there at Stochball. Find me at LA_Broadus. And that's where we're at and where we're talking the most noise and the most funk. So, Eric,
Yeah.
I wanted to bring this up here because this is becoming more newsworthy, and a lot of different media is attacking Coach Hugh for this, which, let me go ahead and go on record, it's not hard to attack Coach Hugh. It's kind of like,
He's like
I don't know.
the thing is,
Yeah,
he's like the uncle that brings like puppies and cakes to every family event.
Oh, okay. I don't have that uncle, but okay. I'll take your word for it. No problem. But everybody's been attacking him. Again, he's not hard to attack. 0-16 record. So yeah, whatever. But what's puzzling here is that we still do not know. We know unofficially, but we don't know who is going to be starting at left tackle on our line.
Mm-hmm.
Eric, let me ask you this before I ask you who you believe is going to start there.
Okay.
Do you believe in the hype that the media is putting behind this on why they won't announce it and why is Hugh being all mysterious about it? Like, how do you feel about that?
If it was any other position, like if we were talking running back, if we were talking if we were talking running back, of course, if we were talking quarterback, then I would understand the hype. The problem is, this is left tackle, and I understand we had arguably the cream of the crop when it comes to left tackles. But the thing is, it's still one piece of the line. It's not like we're talking about a star-studded superstar position here. I mean, no offense to Joe Thomas. We all know that he's up there on the Browns' Mount Rushmore with Bernie Kosar, Otto Graham, and Jim Brown. But at the same time, right now, and since he's gone, it's just one piece of the offensive line. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, it's a controvert. No, it's competition. You want to put who the best lineman is.
Oh, we got a celebrity just asked to join Brownstown.
Uh-oh.
My man Chase Smith from the Orange is Oranger with Jeremy and Akron. Yeah. Okay, cool. They're actually doing big things over there too. So when you're not listening to us, make sure you go over to the Orange is Oranger podcast. They just got interviewed by some international BBC type thing talking about the Browns. So looks like they're doing really well. And they've been on for, I want to say, 2 years now, and they're doing great things. And we, aspire to be like them. I mean, we don't have any feuds or anything like that with other Browns fans or people that's trying to do their podcast or anything like that. I mean, it's all love when it comes to me and Eric. But going back into that, I don't have a problem with him doing it either. I just think that the media is like just so frantic. I thought it was weird. That's what I said. I said it's kind of awkward. You know, Hugh Jackson is just awkward about things. You know, just certain things that you would be like, nah, he wouldn't make a big deal of this. You know, he wouldn't make a big deal of this. And then all of a sudden it's like, he makes a big deal of it. So, it's kind of like, all right, I guess, Hugh, if you want to make a big deal of this one, fine, but it's not really a big deal. You know, you want to keep it a mystery, keep it a mystery. I really am on the fence now, Eric, because I felt, and I'll ask you who you think is going to start there, but I felt that maybe he was taking long because he wanted to see them in practice a little bit more, and I really think that he wants to put Desmond Harrison there.
Honestly, would you blame him? I mean, Harrison's looks. The only thing that people are saying is Harrison could be somebody that was a diamond in the rough because for some reason, since Hugh Jackson's gotten here, we've somehow dug up these diamonds in the rough. But that's a point for another day. But the guys looked absolutely amazing.
Absolutely, and I think that he could have been further than where he is now if he went and had been injured to start, you know, training camp. I mean, he probably would have definitely been coming out as a clear starter. But again, I don't know if this is the game, Eric, to start him. You know, like, again, we admitted that the Steelers front seven is crazy good. And so we know that Bitonio has been there, and honestly, I love the fact that they put Bitonio there for training camp and all of that, because now we have a guy that is so versatile where he can play guard, he can play tackle. I mean, you can put him anywhere now, and that is great to have, especially if somebody goes down on that line. So the plug and play is amazing there. But from Corbett, we haven't gotten, well, to me, I haven't gotten the reassurance from Corbett that I thought we were going to get. Greg Robinson has looked okay, but at the end of the day, he still looks like he'll just be like a backup guy, not that starter, that number one draft pick that you wanted, you know, that you were thinking or maybe hoping that he could scrape up and get, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Harrison, again, and I heard some people talking about him, is they said they had him as a higher draft pick. The reason why he went to a smaller school is because he had some off-the-field issues. But, I mean, they said he had the talent, he had the weight, he had the long arms. Even Joe Thomas, you know, I was listening to them on the Tomahawk show, and Joe Thomas is like, yeah, this kid definitely has it. So I'm not saying he will be the next Joe Thomas. We don't know. We didn't even know Joe Thomas was going to be Joe Thomas until he was Joe Thomas, okay? You know, and try to say that, you know, 15 times fast. But if he has any inkling or any way to give us a competent left tackle, I'm cool with that. Because at the end of the day, it's giving Tyrod, you know, he's learning how to do that with Tyrod there, but also then when Tyrod goes to greener pastures or to worse ones, then when Baker comes in, we're not worried about trying to figure out the line anymore. We have the line set up. Now it's about going out and drafting the best player available.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Because if you remember, that was the question when we had so many good, okay, maybe not good quarterbacks, but at least competent quarterbacks. If I remember correctly, Johnny Manziel's second year, he lost Alex Mack and he lost, what's his name? He lost Mack and he lost Schwartz. So that line was depleted. The next year, Cody Kessler, same problem. The next year, DeShone Kizer comes in, and we all know what happened. The fact is, we need to have this line, and you know what? If letting Desmond sit down and realize what's going to come up is the better idea, do it. The fact is, I would rather lose today instead of win now and sacrifice the future.
Absolutely. Well, I agree with that to some extent, but we do need to win.
Yeah, I mean, no. I mean, especially given the comment that Bruce Arians made recently. I don't know if you caught that comment at all.
No, what was that?
So, I guess he did an interview with Grossi. So, before I go any further, take that with a grain of salt because Tony Grossi is not well liked by Browns fans. But anyways.
Well, real quick, before you hop into that, hold on to that thought. We're going to take a quick break. And then we'll come back to hear those thoughts of Bruce Arians and then wrap up the show. This is Brownstown with LA and Eric, and we'll be right back.
Hey, this is Brittany Griner from the Phoenix Mercury, and you listen to the 3-Point Conversion.
All right, and you are listening to Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. I'm LA, and that's Eric across from me. We've been rocking and rolling Steelers Week. It's been Steelers Week, and we are excited and hyped and just ready to go and beat some Steelers tail. But as we were just talking about, Eric had some great thoughts, or I'm not sure if they're going to be great or not, because wow, yeah. Anyway, he had some thoughts from Bruce Arians talking to local Browns media, Tony Grossi. So, Eric, go ahead. Floor is yours. Take it away.
So, one of the things that did come up was about Bruce Arians and his time in Cleveland, because people are often able to point out that he was the offensive coordinator under Butch Davis. I'm sure you remember that.
Yes.
And one of the things that came out from that interview, this is the job he wanted. He wanted to coach the Cleveland Browns. And we had that suspicion for a while. Hearing it out in person with some of the questions that's going on now, it just has to at least give some kind of a peak of interest to, what's his name? To John Dorsey, who we all know Arians has been a successful coach. It's got to make him wonder. I wonder if maybe if Hugh doesn't work out, ...
I'm not even thinking about that anymore, man.
No.
Everybody wants to talk about, who can replace you and all this other stuff. I don't care anymore.
No, yeah, I agree completely. I'm just saying, it's an interesting thought, especially since he just... Did he retire or did he step down at the beginning?
He stepped down. Well, he retired, stepped down, if that made any sense.
Yeah, I mean, it was a weird situation, and...
Yeah, there were some health issues, if I remember correctly. I thought it was health issues.
And if I remember correctly, I thought he was also one of the rumors when it came to, to the whole offensive coordinator thing. I mean, it's all talk for later in the year. I just find it intriguing a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very true. It's very intriguing, but at the same time, I mean, we've seen this on the college level too. When Urban stepped down at Florida, citing health issues, and then he bounced and went to Ohio State, of course. He was my coach for right now. I'm not even trying to look at that. It is what it is. I want to get a guy. I mean, he's here. He's went through the entire offseason program, training camp, preseason. The guy's here, okay? Mm-hmm. It's not easy just to bring another guy in. It's also not easy for the Browns to hire a head coach. Let's just go ahead and be honest. We were out there for a long time looking for people before Hugh came in. I thought, too, before the Hugh Jackson coming in, I forgot which head coach it was. I can't remember if it was the Patton saga, but we were out there for a long time trying to figure it out.
Patton was... Oh, yeah, I mean, how often do you hire a defensive coordinator's assistant, or, as we've mentioned before with Chudzinski, a tight end coach to be the head coach?
Right. So I don't want to go through that again. I understand that the roster is a lot more talented now, but at the end of the day, the Haslam's have a reputation of being not patient with their guys. So for a guy to say, okay, look, yes, talent on this roster, the AFC North is still tough, but I'm dealing with an impatient owner. I got to go in and just reinstall an entire new philosophy, new programs, new language. I mean, I'm not trying to go through all that again. And I think that that's really why Hugh is still there, to be honest. It's okay to bring in some coordinators, but when you're talking about a whole head of the organization kind of guy, where, Hugh used to do it, nah, I'm not trying to go through all of that. Plus, our coordinators, I think we have the right balance between coordinator and head coach.
Absolutely.
Not calling Hugh soft, but he's more of a B-type personality compared to, Williams and Haley being A-type personalities. If you bring in an A-type head coach that's going to be yelling in just like them, all three of them is not going to last. That's going to be a train wreck. So I believe that we have the perfect balance right now.
Wait. So what you're telling me is you don't expect Todd Haley to go over and give Myles Garrett a hug?
No. No.
Okay. All right, one more question before we wrap up for the day. Prediction for this weekend. Go.
Yes. That's what, hey, man, you taking the words out of my mouth. What you stealing? Stealing my screen? Anywho, predictions for this week. Do you want to do just score? You want to do some stats with it? I mean, how do you want to do it?
Let's start with score, and then we'll see. We'll base next week off how badly we do this week.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so I have the Browns.
Say it. I know you want to say it. You will let the power of the Jackson floweth from your brain.
Okay. What is up with you and this weird preacher? We'll talk about that offline. So I have the Browns taking this, and if they do take this, they'll have to score 30 points. So I have 30-24 Browns.
Good pick. I'll give you that one. You know what? I gotta say, I think it's gonna be a lot closer. I think we're gonna see 27-24 Browns. I mean,
being saved off the leg of Gonzalez.
I think it's gonna be from the leg of Gonzalez, or it could be that, or it could be that maybe something happens, like maybe there's a missed field goal by the Steelers, and then, like we saw with the preseason game, maybe we see a sack in the end zone. I don't put anything out of reach for this team right now.
All right. Well, there you have it. We both have the Browns going. I'm going to be honest with you. There are going to be weeks that I'm going to say the Browns are going to lose. I know it's a Browns podcast, but I'm a realist, so I'm going to always do that first. Mm-hmm. Eric, it's Steelers week, and I'm excited. And this show went entirely too fast because we could have kept talking forever. So, until next week, this is Brownstown, powered by the 3-Point Conversion. I'm your man, LA, and it's so hard to say goodbye to my man Eric over there.
Goodbye.
Eric. Steelers week!
Woo-hoo!
Go, bro.
Hang on, Snoopy, Snoopy, hang on. Hang on, Snoopy, Snoopy, hang on. Snoopy lives in a very bad part of town.